Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today we're going to be talking about my favorite gun in Star Wars Battlefront. That is the SE-14C burst-fire pistol. This gun is a beast. It's great in most situations you run into. It's burst fire but can deal massive damage. It also has one of the highest rates of fire when you actually burst fire the weapon out of any other gun in the game. And if you connect all 5 shots that come out of a single burst with somebody in close quarters, you can kill them with one single burst. In addition to that, if you activate a charge card like Explosive Shot, you can easily one burst an opponent in close quarters, allowing you to drop entire squadrons of enemies before your Explosive Shot runs out. Now, aside from this being just a really fun gun to play with, we can actually start to break down the stats of just why this gun is so darn effective in Star Wars Battlefront. Luckily, Simthic.com has dug out all the weapon stats from Star Wars Battlefront, and we can analyze to our heart's content. Popping up the stats here, you can see that it has an 800 round per minute rate of fire for its burst fire mode, and its maximum damage of 20 damage per shot doesn't start dropping off till 25 meters. So as long as you land all 5 shots at up to 25 meters away, you can still one burst somebody. Now, granted, it is very uncommon that you're going to do one burst and kill somebody, but on average, I would say I'm able to 2 burst people down, which is still very, very effective. And if they have any damage done to them, then a single burst can absolutely finish them off. Now, at further ranges, up to 40 meters, you're only going to be doing 10 damage per shot, so it becomes significantly less effective at range. Not to mention, it does have a bit of recoil, so your first shot, although is going to be perfectly accurate, your follow-up shots will not be as accurate, and there's nothing you can really do about that. Even good recoil control is not going to make those shots land with pinpoint accuracy. So you're going to have to use it at mostly close to medium range, more on the side of close range combat. But burst fire weapons in Star Wars Battlefront actually favor close range combat now, especially because of the third person camera. You can do a lot of quick corner peeking, and since it has the highest rate of fire of any of the weapons in the game during the burst mode, you can quickly peek out and dish out massive damage and then peek back. It's excellent for that style of gameplay. And if you do decide to combine this weapon with the Explosive Shot charge card, you can still kill people at range. So it's a nice way to give this loadout a bit more versatility. See somebody far away, activate Explosive Shot, kill them. Explosive Shot wears out, you can still kill people in close quarters. Now you might be thinking, isn't the EE3 extremely similar to this weapon in many ways? Yes, you're right, the EE3 is very similar, and on paper it's almost better, except for the fact that you don't get as many shots per burst. So the EE3 is a more accurate burst fire weapon, but it's intended more for long range combat. So basically, you're not going to be able to dish out quite the same amount of damage in close range or in the short amount of time. So you're going to need a little bit of leeway, which is where the long range combat comes into effect. Now, if you pick up the SE-14C and you try and long range people with this weapon, you're going to have a horrible time. It's not good at longer range combat. You can kill people and you can finish off kills at further ranges, but you're certainly not going to take somebody from 100% health down to 0% health at long range easily. It's going to take you a long time, probably overheat your gun, probably lose the firefight if they have a better weapon than you. What you want to do is you want to close the engagement distance. So it's very important to have something like a jetpack, especially on bigger, wider open maps, so that you can get close to your opponents and put yourself in a situation where your weapon is going to be more effective than their weapon. If they're running something like an E11 or a machine gun that does consistent damage but is intended more for medium or even long-ish ranges, this is going to outdamage this. In fact, this is going to outdamage almost every weapon in close quarters aside from the DL-44, but only if people are landing all their shots with the DL-44 or the shotgun. But again, the shotgun is a very limited weapon, only to close quarter combat. What I like about this weapon is that you have more versatility from close to medium range combat than you do with something like a DL-44 or the Shock Blaster shotgun. But it also is a bit more consistent. I know how this weapon's going to fire. I know how to aim it in close quarters. When you're using something like the DL-44, if you miss your first 2 shots, you're screwed. Game over. You have to be extremely accurate with that weapon all the time, where the SE-14C gives you a little bit of time to compensate your aim and sort of adjust your aim mid-burst. So you can still land a couple of the shots from one burst rather than just missing all of the damage there. Also with the Shock Blaster, a lot of your shots will go into cover in front of you, or you'll just miss them straight out. It feels a bit more inconsistent than this weapon. So I love the consistency of the SE-14C. I know exactly when I can and will win a firefight, and I have a pretty good idea of when I'm not going to win a firefight. So it's just nice and consistent, and it gives me the option to still take down people at further ranges than the DL-44 or Shock Blaster. Now, if you happen to be running this weapon with the scout trait that keeps you off that mini-map and radar, you're going to have a lot more flanking opportunities at hand, which will allow you to get behind your opponents. Now, once you get behind your opponents, if they're completely unaware of you, you can get close enough to the point where you can just get within range to single burst fire kill them, and this will allow you to take down droves of enemies who are unaware of you extremely fast. Few other weapons in this game have that kind of firepower. Try and do it with any of the machine guns and you will be at a loss. It takes a while to drop multiple targets with a machine gun, where the SE-14C can drop them extremely fast, provided that you're close enough and you have the accuracy. Now, the one drawback of this weapon is that you can't unlock it until rank 14. It's definitely not a newbie starting gun. Otherwise, I think a lot of people would be using it, but by the time you hit rank 14, you should have the skill required to use this weapon effectively and use it to the point where you're like, yeah, wow, the SE-14C really is an amazingly good gun. Now, as I mentioned before, your situation really dictates how effective this weapon's going to be. So it's great for TDM style game modes that are infantry based and smaller. If you're playing larger game modes like Walker Assault, just get close to your opponent, and the jetpack or the jump pack is going to be a key element in doing so. Otherwise, you're probably not going to want to use this. If you're stuck to trench warfare and it's really far away fighting on Hoth or something like that, you might not want to use the SE-14C. You're just not going to have a good time with it. And I definitely switch out weapons, even though this is my favorite gun in the game at the moment. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the only thing I use. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this SE-14C review. And I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap signing off.